stores in this area. You got a real big Victorinox steak knife. Open the pack. Just make a little cut and just slide your finger through the whole thing. Now there will be a lot of blood in these cryovac bags. There's always a lot of blood. That is not a problem. Just pick up the loin, put it down on the cutting board, grab the blood bag, and go directly to the garbage with it. I'm used to wearing the apron and the smock, that's why I wiped it on my shirt. But see, the top end here has a whole lot of fat. You want to trim up a whole bunch of that. The bottom end is all lean, but you want to trim up a whole bunch of this fat off of it, because you don't want that in your cheesesteak. You can save bits and pieces of it if you want, but for the most part, all this fat here on top, you want taken off. Now, do not cut yourself. Fat can be very hard to cut if you have a dull knife. My knife isn't dull, but it could be sharper. And the fat that's on the top here is very, very thick. Like big old hunks of fat. Now, there are a million different things you can do with the fat. You can just throw it out. You can put it in your garden. You can boil it and make it into lard. Anytime I try to deep fry with it, though, it always ends up making a big mess, because fat is a lot harder to cook with than regular oil. But it's a lot healthier, but makes it taste kind of funky too. Now, in the grocery store, I'll be doing this a whole lot faster than I am. I'm just doing this to show you. And if I didn't have the camera on, I would have this facing me this way, and I would just wipe this out real quick. Like skin it pretty much. Take it all in one big piece. But because it's on video, I wanted to go a little bit slower and show you the whole process. Now, you're gonna get fat. You're gonna get some meat on with the fat, and you want to save them pieces. Now, you don't gotta be very picky. Like if it's just a little piece like this, mostly all fat and a little bit of meat, that's alright, just put it on the fat pile. But pieces like this, mainly meat, keep that. If you get enough of it, you can chop it up with your knife. Sorry about that. You can cut it up with your knife real small pieces. Maybe make some hamburger out of it. If you can good enough cut it good enough. Got pretty much all the fat off the top. It's okay. You can leave that little bit, the clear stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want to have a little bit of fat on it. Now here on the front, you want to clean up all this stuff here on the front and on the other side and on the top a little bit. And on the point, there's always a little hunk of fat there. You want to get that off too. Back here on the back side, you can just get down underneath a little bit of it and just grab a hold of it. Take your knife, just pull it like you're skinning it. And it's okay if you get some meat in with it. As long as you're getting almost all the fat. Really gotta sharpen my knife. I haven't sharpened it in a while, but I barely ever use it anymore. Alright. I'm going to sharpen my knife before I start slicing, because I have to slice it very, very thin. Got my steel here I got when I worked at Smithfield on the kill floor. They kill 35,000 pigs a day at that Smithfield plant in Tar Heel, North Carolina. I worked on the kill floor there. They had this big conveyor belt that brought the whole hog around, constantly moving. And these guys over in front of me, their job was to stand there, cut the guts out of the pig as it was going by, grab the guts, cut them out, throw them down on this other conveyor belt that came up to me. Now I had to cut the heart, liver, and lungs off of the guts. And I had to hang the heart, liver, and lungs up on a hook as it went by, and the guts kept going down by. And these other people down behind me, they cleaned out the guts because nothing went to waste there. They used the guts for dog food and whatever else. So. Alright. This fat right here, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to throw it in the garbage because I don't need it. And I don't have anywhere to go with it here. If I had a garden, I'd put it out in my garden. If you're a fisherman, that fat would work very good for catfish bait. I never tried it for anything else. It would probably work good for any other kind of fish. Just cut it down little shapes like worm. But for catfish, you can put that big old hunk of fat on there. They'd love that. Now, I'm going to move this over here. This hunk of meat. I'm going to start slicing very, very thin. Very thin. The whole way down. If I didn't get it sharp enough, I'm going to have to resharpen it. That's pretty thin. About lunch meat size if you can, but do not cut yourself. It is not easy to do it. takes a very experienced meat cutter to be able to cut like this and not cut yourself. You should definitely wear gloves. If you have cut gloves, if you don't have cut gloves, wear whatever kind of gloves you got. You can wash them. But I'm experienced. I have like 15 years experience cutting meat and butchering. I've been doing it even since I was 5 years old, so you could say 25 years experience. But it ain't like they yet let me use a knife when I was 5 years old. The first time using a knife, I was about 15, so in an actual butcher shop. So, about like this, maybe a little bit thinner if you can. Try to get it as thin as possible. These are a little bit thick. Right there, if you seen that, the little piece on the bottom, it didn't want to come off because there was a little bit of fat there on the bottom that gave it that little bit of trouble there. About like that. Some places, depending on the store and the location, they'll use a meat slicer to cut the cheesesteak meat. And some people, I had a lot of people come up to me wanting a hunk of meat to make dry beef out of and beef jerky. And this would be good for that too, but you just have to have it very, very thin to be able to do that. That's a very thin piece. A normal eye-round steak would be about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, because they're not very big. Like my hand is bigger than the steak. But just go as thin as possible. And I don't know if I'm going to do the entire thing into that, because that'd be a whole lot. I might cut some steaks out of it, maybe a roast. Eye-round does make a very good roast, though. Preferably with fat on it, but there's still enough fat here on the it make a good roast. So I'll be right back, like that. Watch this. Piper, sit. Beg. Beg. Good girl. I don't condone giving dogs table scraps or food off of the meat here. It's expensive meat. But she's being a good girl, so I gave her a little piece of mainly fat with some beef on it. I'm going to cut a little bit more steaks off here, the cheesesteaks, and I'm going to do the rest into a roast. You can also do it, instead of making cheesesteak sandwiches, you can make cheesesteak pasta. And that is very, very good too. And I'll do a video on that sometime. But probably not today. Today we're doing sandwiches, because that is better. Now, a lot of these are thicker than I'd like them to be, but I have a headache. I'm having a little bit of a panic attack, nervous breakdown, so this is as good as it's going to get. All right. Why'd the cow jump over the moon? It wasn't a cow, it was a bull. And Chuck Norris said, "Giddy up, little doggy," and it went and jumped. That wasn't as funny as it was in my head. The original joke is, why'd the cow jump over the moon? Because the farmer had very cold hands. So, this here's what I got. I got a steak. This steak's probably about, I don't know, 2.5 to 3.5 pounds. Then I got a whole bunch of sliced stuff here for cheesesteaks. Then I have a little bit here, like fattier stuff that I trimmed off of it. It has more meat. I'll put that in with the cheesesteaks too, because it'll help get it more grease in it when the frying pan. Then I'm just going to put the roast back in the freezer for now. As long as I can get it in this little hefty bag. Which I don't know if I can. I'm going to try. Well, I thought I had the camera on. I guess I didn't. It fit in the hefty bag perfectly. So it went right in. I didn't have to mess with it at all. It fit right in there. Now I just got to clean off my knife and my steel and get ready to start frying. Just be very careful. If you have a big knife like this, be very, very careful when you're washing it and drying it. Because I can't tell you the number of times I went all day long without cutting myself. But at the end of the day, when I had to wash my knife off, especially when I was drying it, I'd run that paper towel up and just slice the outside skin of my finger so fast, I didn't even know it happened. And I have a separate little wash thing here, sponge, for doing knives, because they cut.